What's going on, guys? Holy crap, my face is a lot closer than I thought. Welcome back, anyways, to a new video of, well, Dungeons and Dragons. Now, we are back to this for maybe one episode, which is this one, just because we did like a little test of our new campaign that I'm actually DMing once again, because the other two DMs rather couldn't, they weren't prepared or stuff like that, and I'm always full of creative ideas, so I'm always ready to DM at everyone's notice. But hopefully the next session we can actually record it and do like a little live video of it for you guys. I mean, the last video that we had got copyrighted for just like a 30-second part of a song, so that I had to shut that, or I had to delete that video. But maybe next time I can actually have I can try to find some music that's not copyrighted. Just depends. I might mess around with a couple things or look at some, but other than that, you're tired of probably hearing me talk and just want to hear about the story. As you guys remember, my kind of the last little series of the Wood of Zatov, where a comet known as Peller's Light flew over the the plane of existence known as Zatov, where it made monsters asleep in an eternal rest, and healed crops and people, and basically made the world in a state of peace. However, this comet was destroyed, and no one knew why until they discovered that a void dragon known as Sakura or also known as the Plane Destroyer, had destroyed it. This dragon was created by a void sorcerer known as Yennefer, and they had to retrieve the shards of Pelor and put them back together to restore the Pelor's Light. However, the heroes in the story, Blair, Rayron, Ranzor, and Oberon, all work together to try to put Pelor's Light back together, upon running into Yennefer herself, who they thought was a trustworthy princess of Stormwind. Turns out she was evil, and the Void Dragon Sakura actually merged with Tiamat to create a new dragon, which was like a Void Tiamat, who caused more destruction, and they had to go into the Void itself to defeat this dragon. They managed to defeat it with no casualties and managed to restore Pelor's Light, Blair receiving a blessing of Pelor himself, saying that she is one of the chosen ones, and if Pelor were to ever pass, she would be in line for taking the throne next. They were celebrated as heroes, and after that whole adventure, they each did their own thing. Blair having 2 children, marrying Prince Alistair, where they did their own thing. Eventually, Blair had to leave and do some training with Nyla, who they found, who was teleported away during the first attack of Sakura the Void Dragon. They had to do training with her to teach Blair, how to master your new powers, and etc. Oberon became the new king of the Nine Hells after the Nine Hells had been destroyed, marrying Cinder's daughter, who was the elemental queen of the Nine Hells of Magma. He ended up getting married and possibly having a kid. Ranzor having 2 daughters and growing with his son Darren. Him and his wife Utaga moved to a cabin in the woods and lived there peacefully. And Rayron became married to Finnegan and became the new Archmage of Dalaran. However, it has been 250 years since the defeat of the Void Tiamat Dragon. The world has been in peace. Zatov hasn't had any big changes or any big attacks. The monsters have been asleep, everything was at peace. Pelor's light restored, and Zatov was once again how it used to be. And like all great stories begin, they begin with one being, one person. One person who unites and brings people together. This person happens to be a rogue, known as Vash D. Wolfwood, also known as Trevmageddon or Jake. We start off our campaign with a festival going on, known as the Heroes Festival, that goes on every 5 years since the defeat of Void Tiamat. The Heroes Festival consists of an arena or a tournament battle where anyone who enters is promised riches and fame. As this tournament goes on, there is also a sword festival or a drawing of the sword for a hero or for people who want more purpose in their life to try to draw this sword to become the new hero of Zatov. Vashti Wolfwood, of course, being a charlatan and a man of many ones, thought fortune sounded nice and decided to head to Galhara, which is a island a little downwards from the Broken Shore. Galhara is a beautiful city, beautiful kingdom that's basically over part of over an ocean, with a huge bridge extending to lead to it. Vashti Wolfwood has a boat, but he couldn't exactly sail into Galhara before it was kind of blocked off for certain reasons. So he decided to hitch a ride with a young girl he met. Eventually, they made their way to Galhara. Upon being in the back of this caravan, the caravan began to move suspiciously, and there were some interesting noises as Vash jumped out of the back of the caravan as the caravan was on the bridge heading inside Galhara. Running off into the crowd as a man began to grab his daughter and began to scream at Vash for walking in on those two in a very intimate matter. Vash headed off into the crowd, not really feeling anything, just more of happy and just being Vash himself. Vash is many things. You learn that as the campaign continues. But he's most famously known for having no friends and having a chicken named Clucky. I know it sounds weird, but that's just Vash. Anyhow, even though Vash doesn't really have friends, he's really good with the ladies. Believe it or not, he has made his way around and is well known. Vash headed into Galhara, first sitting at a tavern, just relaxing a little bit, before a town crier began shouting for people who entered the tournament to meet at the gates with their designated names. A through F to meet at the North Gate, G, blah, 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 or whatever, you know what I mean. Vash made his way to the last gate for his name starting with a V. He waited there with a huge crowd of a whole bunch of different species and races, each geared with their own armor of being rather spiked armor to the max with a huge great axe to someone who wore just a robe. Once the countdown went down, Vash ran in, jumping on the heads of the people in front of him to make his way inside the arena, being one of the first people to actually make inside the arena, and began to run into the wooded area and began to make his way to the middle. Upon making his way to the middle, it was just a big empty plain circle, but he did notice that each of the 4 gates was a different landscape, rather one being mountains, one being an ocean, one being forest, and one just being a plain. The first place he decided to head to was the mountains, and looking around, making sure there was no one attacking, he did see someone get struck down, getting a huge axe inside their chest. As they fell to the ground, unconscious and definitely dying, they saw that their body was brought back, and the wound had healed, and a bubble was put over them, meaning there is no deaths in this tournament. If someone is to die, they're taken out but completely healed. As Vash continued through the mountains, he did find a little crack in a mountain. A crack that it seemed like he could fit through, so he decided, why not? Why not go to a place I could hide and just sit there for the night? Upon walking inside, it was really dark, but torches on the side began to light up this huge corridor. Vash, making his way down the corridor, was led to a big open room where torches lit the entire room, and in the middle was a ice structure. As he walked up to it, he could see that there was just a faint person inside. Upon taking the torches and unfreezing this ice sculpture, fell out a human male. The human male was a little confused at first for not knowing where he was. One of the first things he asked was where was his dragons. The man introduced himself as Canwell, the Dragon Slayer. He was out of his time. When he was raised by dragons, a white and a blue one. Canwell, not really familiar with where he's at, where his dragons is, and Vash being the one who saved him, decides to stick with Vash, as Vash and Canwell begin to make their way outside the mountain, as Vash kind of explains what's going on. The two make their way outside the crack in the mountain and see what looks to be someone spying on them. As this person begins to take off after being noticed, Vash and Canwell follow him until they lead to what looks to be this beautiful lake with the moon shining just right past these trees onto this lake, and the lake sparkling almost like a mana pool, where they see a broken down stone church. They decide to enter the church upon walking in down these stairs after avoiding a trap of bottles of acid falling on their head. They see what looks to be a bunch of cultists who are sitting in their new little hidden chamber. Them having a symbol of a skull with a sickle on it, being the symbol of Nerull, Nerull, which is the god of death. Anyhow, they walk inside just trying to see what's exactly in here. Not really being stealthy, they get caught right away and are stuck in a situation trying to figure out what they can do here. They decide to say that they are new members of the cult, new recruits, and they're directly asked to show them their symbols, because new recruits are branded with the symbol right away. Canwell, being a dragon slayer, has the power of, the dragon element of lightning, and stuck his hand up the back of Vash's shirt to burn the symbol of Nerull into his back before drawing it on his side himself and showing the symbols. The symbols are looking pretty legit. They're believed and given robes and are believed to be some of the new cult members. Oh boy, hold on. I just forgot the name of one of the characters. That's gonna be an issue. I think it's here at least. Nope, I forget it. Anyhow, that's not the point. Anyhow, as they get ready to, as they put on the robes and are kind of talking with these interesting cult members, they are told of a plan where they are to capture the daughter of Blair, the Asmere child, for they need her blood, and that's the last piece for the resurrection of Nerull, who will put an end to Pellar's light and stop the peace from Zatov for hopefully forever. So they were told to meet in this designated area as they all held hands and created what looked to be a blood portal, as they all stepped inside and teleported into the throne room of Galhara, where sat the princess and the Asmere child of Blair. Oh, the Asmere child of Blair, yeah, I said that right. Anyhow, they were met with about 10 other cult members. One who looked to be a little different, who seemed to be the leader, and a woman who stood out a lot more than the rest of them, who seemed to kind of be like the leader's second in command. Her name being Calypso. I think I just remembered her name. Calypso was a little sketchy of these two, of Canwell and Vashwood, because they seemed to stand out and didn't have the tools that new recruits are usually given. Calypso being... I can't really say. She was just brought to this cult and joined it because she wanted revenge for this Asmere child destroying her home. Her one main purpose. That's the only thing I can say without spoiling a lot. So she kept an eye on them, and as they all assumed the position to begin the assault to capture the Asmere child, Canwell breathed a lightning blast on 4 of the cult members. Calypso, the leader, one of the cultists. As the cultist was burned to a crisp, Canwell quickly tried to jump down, or slide down 80 feet onto the ground, but was only managed to get down 30, so he was hanging 50 feet on the air in the skirting. The leader, not liking what just happened, was frustrated and singed, looking across the other side to see one of his other cultist members pushed off this 80-foot ledge and splatting on the ground from Vashti Wolford himself as he ripped off the robe. He quickly looked around, looking at Canwell as he's still 50 feet above the air, cast Hold Person on Canwell, causing his body to paralyze before falling 50 feet to the ground and going unconscious himself. He then jumped down, and all the cultists jumped down and began to attack and hopefully achieve their plan. Canwell being unconscious for most of this fight, the cultists battled the guards, and the leader quickly started to make his way to the Asmere child as Vash was releasing crossbow after crossbow bolt into the leader, trying to stop him. However, the leader did make it to the Asmere child and teleport her away to an unknown destination. The moment she was teleported, Vash managed to shoot the leader in his throat, causing him to fall on his knees, but laughing the entire way as he fell to the ground, causing the arrow to go down further in his neck. The cultists were stopped. Canwell was revived by the princess, but Calypso managed to escape, disappearing into the crowd after having a potion of rot herself. She disappeared into a human male, getting away from the guards, Canwell, and Vash. She then sat inside a tavern, just waiting for something. Vash and Canwell were questioned hardcore by the princess for what exactly happened, and decided to put them in some cells, for they would have to explain this to the King of Stormwind, Alistair. As they sat in their cells, and Calypso sitting in her room in the tavern, her symbol on the back of her neck began to almost burn as a pool of blood began to trickle down her neck onto the floor and began to form into a person. The person being the leader of the cult, who was supposedly killed. The leader told her that she has been captured and a ritual is beginning to take place, and that she should come with him to achieve the final piece. Calypso agreeing, and them teleporting together to the hideout. As they were sitting there in the new hideout, they did see, as Calypso appeared, she did see that the body of the Asmere child was lying on the ground in a circle of blood, blood pouring out of her arms, neck, and any main vein in her body into a big orb floating above her head. And each speckle of blood, each drop, had a light radiant aura above each one. Anyhow, the cult members were on the edge of completing what they have dreamt to do for so long. However, they wanted revenge on Canwell and Vashwood, and the symbols that they drew onto their neck, even though they weren't from new recruits, whoever has the symbol are cursed. Anyone can teleport to them, or teleport from them, or have them teleport. Sorry, my phone's blowing up. Phone, calm down. There you go. So, they teleported Vash and Canwell into their new chamber, where they looked at them trying to debate of what to do. One of the cultists wanting to cut off Vash's tongue, and before proceeding to, was stopped by Calypso, telling them that cutting off tongues is not fun anymore. Where's the torture? And Calypso causing them to manage to make these cults, the cult members, go away and just leave her with Vash and Canwell. Calypso stopping the ritual by removing the runes on the ground and managed to save this Asmir child and tell him that they don't have much time, and that she demands for the Asmir child to give her sanctuary and remove the symbol on her neck. The Asmir child, however, was agreeing with these terms, but in her way, as she was kind of brushing herself down, managed to push a rune on her belt, causing a certain hero known as Finnegan to appear in the room. Finnegan being a magic, one of the most powerful wizards around, talk to them, kind of get in the story before teleporting them all back to Stormont at the bridge, where they were surrounded by not exactly guards, but these 7-foot, muscular, huge knights known as guardians. They were escorted to the throne room for questioning by King Alistair himself about what happened, and they were told that they would be questioned more. Alistair made a deal with them, saying, I can give you sanctuary for now, but I need questions. Sending Canwell and Vash to a room inside the castle that will be heavily protected for the night, since they did have a long day. Calypso, refusing, didn't want the luxury, said she would rather be in a cell, and was put down to a cell. As the three made their own separate ways, Canwell and Vash began to feel shaking in the castle walls and the floor and the table, as they began to hear ruptures and screams. And the main things they heard were, those aren't normal meteors. As they began to yell at the guards, the doors quickly swung open as the guardians pulled them out, just as a huge gust of flame busted through the window and out the door, barely missing Vash and Canwell. After the flames disappeared, as they looked inside to see what happened, they saw red scales throughout the window, the broken window, just covering the whole window. Vash and Canwell knew something wasn't right, and the guardians knew themselves, as the guardians began to yell at them to make their way to the prison, to the cells beneath the castle, where they are protected with a prismatic wall spell that protects anything from getting inside. As they began to make their way, as these guardians tried their best to protect them, as a beholder appeared through one of the hallways and began to cast spells and trying to kill these humans that are wandering around, as well as a dragon appearing through one of the windows, his head busting in through the wall and breathing fire, just as they're trying to dodge and dip out of the way. An ancient dragon trying to kill them as well. They managed to escape down the hallways, making their way to the cells and hiding in one of the cells before the spell began to flicker. And just as it flickers and dispels, they now see another gust of flame now heading down the stairway towards them. As they try to get out of the way, Canwell unfortunately does not, and trips trying to make his way out of the hallway, falling to the ground seeing this gust of flame now heading directly towards his face. It has suddenly stopped, almost hitting a wall through this doorway. An invisible barrier. As he looks in front of him, seeing this black cloaked figure. And after the flames disperse, the figure turns around, it appears to be a woman with these violet eyes and this black raven colored hair. She snaps her fingers, releasing all the cell doors, and making a portal appear and saying, "If you don't step through here now, you're gonna die." As they all step through, they appear to be in a forest of verdant trees and all kinds of different colors, where it looks like a perpetual twilight is in the sky. This woman explains that you do not need to know who I am. You just need to survive. I saved your life once, that's all you get. As she begins to walk away, a wind blows off her hood, and you can now see a lot clearly of her. She is a beautiful woman who looks to be really young. Her black curled raven hair, her purple eyes. As everyone's kind of looking at her, this being a group of 12 people who were saved from the cell, another one appears, being red hair, wearing a green outfit. Asks, "Who are these new people?" The woman not really answering, the woman says, almost a little nickname describing this woman, calling as Yen. This appearing to be Yennefer. From the first story, if you've seen that, Yennefer was the one who created the Void Dragon. The two kind of had a discussion, the two women, about what to do with these people. They decided to have more sorceresses to come and take groups of 3 to try to help them out. Yennefer and this new woman kind of taking them and taking Kat, Vash, Canwell, and Calypso into their hut, asking what's going on and asking if they need anything. They're saying they just want to head back. So they teleport them back into Stormwind, where they were stuck down in this cell once again with a lot more people, and these 4 guardians with their shields being almost as tall as them, blocking this doorway completely, as there's flames and beams of all kinds of different colors hitting it. They waited a while before it finally stopped, and it sounded like everything is stopped. A couple of the guardians went up to go check before coming back down, and the other 2 guardians going up as well. The people began to head out. As they all made their way out, Vash, Kenmo, and Calypso, they were seeing remnants of destruction and havoc, flame marks everywhere, dragon corpses. However, there looked to be no casualties. All around there were people in big bubbles, 15-foot bubbles, that were just surrounded and covered with people. These bubbles seemed to have protected people, these being the people casting the berries being mages from the mage sanctum or district. They were just protected. It seems no one really died in this attack. Not knowing what caused the attack, these new knights, these guardians, were repairing everything and making it seem like nothing has happened with this unique power that they have. Vash, Canwa, and Calypso not exactly knowing what they're doing, but Vash wanting to help Galhar once more to go explain what happened, and Canwa wanting to go back to his cave to see if he can find his dragons. Calypso not exactly knowing what to do, but just to stick with these guys, Vash decides to say, "Let's go get on my boat," and sail there. So they make their way out to a stable outside Stormwind, where Calypso managed to flirt with the stableman by seducing him before leading him inside his stables and knocking him out. And after making sure she got permission to get one of the horses, or the horses. After knocking him out, the 3 hopped on horses and began to make their way down to Westmarch, where the boat is currently anchored down and placed. And that was where we stopped this little session. And hopefully I can get a little more. Not a little more. Hopefully I can record the session instead, and even if I need to branch it off a little bit and just combine it all together. But that is it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys missed this. I definitely missed it. I love D&D. But yeah, that was it for this whole episode. It was really hectic. I didn't exactly know how everything was gonna go, because in my stories I like to have possible outcomes for every little thing. But yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like and comment. Comment below who is your favorite character so far, whether it's Canwell, Vashti Wolfwood, or the infamous Calypso. We will be having new characters join eventually. Hopefully, I know we have one joining next week, I think, and a couple more, hopefully. But hopefully this campaign turns out to be really well. I got a lot of good things planned, and I hope you guys will stay with and enjoy this adventure with me. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next episode of Dungeons & Dragons. Bye-bye.